Hey, you guys. So as you guys know, I've been asking this question throughout the year, which is, do people want to have, debt or no debt on their rentals? It's a really big question. So I'm asking some of my friends. So Vena, thanks first for sitting with me. Love the hat. A little bit different than my hat. But introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you based out of? And how long you've been in real estate? What do you do? Stuff like that.
Okay, I'm Vena Jones-Cox. I have been in real estate I have just started saying 30 plus years.
You would just clump them together at this point, right?
Well, no, I just don't want people to start calculating my age.
Yeah, that's fair.
Actually, if she started then she'd be this old. I haven't really been a specialist. I've kind of done everything except retailing. I did a little bit of that early on and it made good money and I hated it, so I stopped.
Sure.
Right now it's lots of creative deals, lots of acquiring properties for rental, lease option, repair for equity. I even do some short-term rentals. I said I would never do that. And
Sure.
now I do it.
Those nevers always come back to bite us in the butt.
Those nevers always come back.
And mostly in Ohio, but some other places too?
Well, prior to 2019, it was 100% in Ohio, Northern Kentucky, and Southeast Indiana, because that's all within a 30-minute drive of me here in Cincinnati. But since real estate and exchange meetings started going on Zoom, I suddenly find myself with properties in Georgia and West Virginia, and as long as I've got somebody good on the ground,
you're open to it.
I'm open. Yep.
So what do you think of this question? What's been your experience? Are you, hey, I want to have debt on my rentals. I want my rentals debt free. When you're looking ahead, what are your, with your goals, what do you think about it?
There is only one true answer to every great real estate question.
Are you going to give me a lawyer answer?
It depends.
Yes. I walked right into that one.
It partly just depends on, need. Like, where are you in your real estate career? When I first started in real estate, if it needed more than $100 for me to get into a deal, it was impossible for it to happen. So
Sure.
it was all, loan assumptions, contracts for deed, owner held seconds, private money, all of that stuff. I'm still in the phase of my career where I'm trying to grow my portfolio. And if you are going to insist on paying cash for properties or paying off debt super fast, you cannot grow very rapidly.
Yeah.
The leverage is growth. There will be a time when I start looking at particularly specific properties and saying, let's get that one paid off, because I will be less interested in acquiring new ones and more interested in maximizing the cash flow. However, because I do lots and lots of creative deals, I have quite a few properties where they have 0% mortgages on them. 2% mortgages on them. I have partners, so there's no mortgage at all. We just split up the money. And I truly believe that there is a special circle of hell for people who intentionally pay off 0% mortgages. So those will pay off those will pay off when the last payment happens, which may be after I'm dead. But even my heirs have been told, do not pay off any of those 0% mortgages.
I mean, because you could even walk that debt because it's just you just don't pay off that debt. You might move the collateral because you may fall out of love with that collateral, even if, whether you love it or not, you just may say, hey, this is the time to move it, right?
I would be more inclined to just wrap it and let somebody else enjoy it for a while.
That's fair.
But yes, it depends so much on where are you in your career. I've noticed a lot of people start when they get to the point where they're like, I just want to travel around the world and I'm a hire property manager, not worry about these things anymore. That's when they start to de-leverage. And of course, there's an emotional factor.
Sure.
There's people who just, for whatever reason, what happened to them in their past, they just are not comfortable with debt. And I'm never going to tell somebody like that, no, you have to have debt.
Yeah.
But mathematically, on a spreadsheet, you need debt, you need leverage if you're trying to grow.
And I love that because it really is personal, but you also have to look at that debt, that plays into it. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. Any other final thoughts before we end up?
Yes, actually what you just said triggered me to think. There is definitely such a thing as too much debt. There's definitely such a thing as I leveraged everything so much to get the next thing that now everything is at risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to take a look at your whole portfolio, and I think a real safe number across an entire portfolio is something like 65 to 70% debt. And when you find yourself getting above that, you gotta start focusing on deleveraging a little bit.
Exactly. And I mean, we're seeing that right now in the real estate industry, all the people who, whether it's short-term debt, whether it's over-leveraged, those are the guys who are pinched the most right now, right? And so we're going to, those are the folks who we're watching because we're saying like, hey, they're the ones who are calling for help. Hey, I can't, all this. And so what are your thoughts in this? And I know we're going over time here, but subject to debt.
I kind of have the same mental rule about that I do about anything else. Now, will I pay pretty close to 100% of the as-is value of a property if I'm getting it subject to a 2% loan and it cash flows really well? Yes, I will. Will I then leave it in that condition so that it continues to have very little? Because usually when you're buying at 98 cents on the dollar, if you go and replace the kitchen and the bath, now you're only at,
Yeah,
82 cents on the
forcing,
dollar.
yeah,
or
you're
something.
forcing that appreciation. Yeah,
Yeah. It's I'm a huge believer that your subject to debts, your private debts, and your owner debts are your first debts. They are. If you're juggling bills and you're like, what do I pay? Do I pay my bank or do I pay this person's bank? You pay that person's bank.
Yeah. Before you pay the institution. So, like for example, you protect the seller's credits, or you pay the private money or the private seller carry stuff before going to pay Wells Fargo.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people in 2008 and 2009, I was making those decisions some months about which, two more of my tenants moved out because they lost their job. I can't pay all of these bills right now. Which ones am I going to pay?
Yeah.
And the answer was always the one where the seller is depending on that money for them to live this month, or the seller is depending on that money to their bank
credit,
so that they can have good credit. And, always, thank God, always made it happen during those times, wholesale to property or something to make it happen. But it's super important that those be your first priorities.
So last question then, do you prioritize any of that when it comes to deleverage? When you look at, meaning any type of debt, do you prioritize when deleveraging?
I prioritize anything I have that has a higher debt, a higher interest rate, or a higher loan constant. It's pretty easy to look through a spreadsheet of a portfolio and go, man, if I paid that one off, I would be getting an extra $1,200 a month, but if I pay that one off, I'm only getting an extra $700 per month.
Don't worry, I asked Pete this question already before, and like half the conversation was around loan constants. So they've been introduced.
What that is.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. No, I think that's helpful. So I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, and thank you guys.